What's going on, everybody? Y'all already know the vibes, baby. And look, HCS Raleigh is officially in the books. Shout out to Cloud9 for taking home the first place spot. It was the first official event of Halo Infinite, so you guys know what that means. I'm going to be doing my own personal top 8 power rankings. And look, I might have some interesting takes here and there, so let me know what you guys think. But we're going to start with the number 8 best team in the world. First up, coming in at number 8, I have Team Ascend out of Europe. Now, they didn't even place top 8 at this event. They got 9 through 12. Now, you might be wondering why I have Ascend as my number 8 team, even though they didn't place in the top 8. The two teams who placed 7th, 8th were Navi, another European team, and Space Station Gaming. But honestly, it just comes down to when I watched the whole weekend throughout all the matches, I thought that they were a better team than Navi. And Ascend had a pretty good championship bracket run. They beat Status Quo in the first round. They beat G2, which was the team that was in Navi's pool that topped the group 3-0 in winners round 2 before they fell to Pioneers 3-0 in that series. But they had a good start in the winners bracket compared to Navi, where in their first winners round 1 matchup, they played Foot Fungus 72. Don't know what that is, before losing to Space Station Gaming 3-1, sending them into the losers bracket. And Navi just didn't have any convincing wins against any noticeable teams in the losers bracket. Now, they did make it one round further, but in losers bracket round 4, where Ascend did lose to Sentinels 3-1 in a relatively close series, Navi, they got the luck of the draw. Now, I know you can only play the teams that are ahead of you, that are in front of you, right? You don't get to pick and choose, okay? But Navi, in the same round that Ascend played Sentinels, went up against a team called Quadrant, where they did beat them 3-2. And that's why this is my personal power rankings, because I do believe Ascend currently is the stronger team. And I think if the roles were reversed, or the positions were reversed, I guess I should say, I think Ascend would have also beat Quadrant, and I think they would have been able to make it further in the tournament than Navi. It's not a shot at Navi. It's just kind of my explanation for why I have Ascend as the 8th best team in the world right now, even though they didn't even place top 8. Coming in at number 7, guys, I have Space Station Gaming. They were also in the same pool as Ascend, but they were able to make it out in the top 2, where they also beat Ascend in pool play. And then in winners bracket round 2, they went on to beat Navi 3-1 before falling in the very next round to eUnited. And then in the losers bracket, they were able to defeat Team War 3-0 before going down to Sentinels 3-0 in a, fairly convincing win for Sentinels, fairly convincing loss for Space Station Gaming. But I think they played well enough this weekend. They had a lot going on right before the event. They had dropped Tusk for Formal going into this event. Formal ended up leaving them and joining Sentinels, since World 2 got banned, and they picked us back up. So they really weren't able to get much quality practice compared to a lot of these other teams. And I still think they had a fairly good performance in Raleigh, something that they can definitely build on in the future. Moving on to number 6, guys, the number 6 best team in the world right now that I have is none other than the Kansas City Pioneers, KCP. The Pioneers basically cruised through pool play alongside OpTic to make it out in winners bracket round 2, I believe, where they beat team Built by Gamers 3-0 in winners bracket round 2. And now Built by Gamers did place top 16 this event. And then they also beat Team Ascend, the 8th ranked team in my list, 3-0 as well in the very next round in winners bracket, where they were firing on all cylinders. In my opinion, they looked great, and I thought that series was actually going to be a lot closer than it was. And then in the next round, they fell 3-1 to eUnited, the team that did place 2nd. They were in the finals, and they went right into losers bracket round 6, where they went up against FaZe, and they had another very close series, but unfortunately they weren't able to close it out. They lost 3-2 in a nail biter. And we all know FaZe placed 3rd at this event. So the only 2 teams that Pioneers lost to in the championship bracket were the 2nd and 3rd place team from this event. And they also had some convincing wins along the way as well. Next up, coming in at the number 5 spot, this is where it gets a little interesting. And I'm going to preface this with, I do believe that this is not an accurate placing for this team. But for right now, I have to put them here in my opinion. And that's because even though they placed 4th at Raleigh, The 5th best team in the world right now I have is Sentinels. Now, you guys all know the drama that went on before this event. Okay, we didn't even know if Sentinels was going to go to the event. And they had a lot longer of a run compared to a lot of these other teams because they did come through the open bracket and they did go right into winners round 1 where they beat the boys 3-0. Now, the boys is a team that plays top 32 in the event. And then in the very next round, winners round 2, they went up against OpTic. Okay, a lot earlier than a lot of people were going to imagine these two powerhouse teams facing off. But they got absolutely disrespected. They got 3-0'd off the map. No one was really doing anything on the side of Sentinels. And honestly, I wasn't even expecting it to be as lopsided as it was because, yeah, they had Formal instead of Royal 2. They didn't have the practice. But I thought off sheer talent alone, this series would have been a little bit closer. But unfortunately, they fell and they had to make a losers bracket run from early in the tournament. And you could really tell that they started getting in rhythm with Formal. They started getting on the same page with each other because they really just ran through some teams. And then this is where it gets interesting. Because in losers bracket round 6, 4 top 4, they faced off against OpTic Gaming again. But this time, they were able to come out on top. They won a very close series. A nail biter. It was 3-2. Formal went absolutely off in the game 5. I believe he dropped 21 kills to help secure the dub. And I was surprised by that. You know, I obviously knew that this team was going to get better the longer that they, went on in the event, as long as they were still in it, because they're just going to get more reps with Formal, try and get on the same page with him. And that's exactly what happened. And after they beat OpTic, I honestly thought this team was primed to make it to the finals, to do this losers bracket run. But then they lost the very next round. Obviously, this was for top 3, and they lost 3-1 to FaZe. So they got 4th in the event. The reason why I have them at 5th is just because, well, you're going to find the answer out here in a couple seconds when I move on to the next 2 teams. Coming in at number 4, guys, I have FaZe Clan. Now, I know FaZe Clan placed 3rd at this event, but let's just do a little bit of a breakdown of the teams they played in pool play, in championship bracket, who they beat, who they lost to, and eventually how they got to that 3rd place. So FaZe didn't even get 1st in their pool. Now, they did have a very good pool, but they got 3-0 by G2 in pool play. Now, it's only pool play, okay? Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but I'm just going off of the rankings, right? Of the teams they beat. Because even though you can only play the team that's in front of you, some teams play easier teams to their road to wherever they get. Some teams play hard teams. That's just how it is. But so FaZe did beat XSET 3-0 in their winners bracket round 2 matchup. XSET, unfortunately, only placed top 24, even though they looked pretty solid early on. And then in winners bracket round 3, FaZe actually went up against OpTic where they lost 3-1. Okay, so they got knocked into the loser bracket pretty early, same as Sentinels. The round right after Sentinels did, FaZe also joined them. And then they had one convincing win, but their losers bracket run was very shaky in my opinion. Even though they won and they made it as far as they did, it just wasn't convincing. In losers bracket round 4, they went up against their pool play enemies G2, where they were down 2-1 the series. They did come back and win 3-2, a very close series. And then in the next round, they played Navi, which this was their one convincing win in my opinion, where they won 3-0. And then in losers bracket round 6, they went up against Pioneers. This was for top 4, where they squeaked out another 3-2 win over a very good Kansas City Pioneers team. And then they played Sentinels for top 3. And I was honestly surprised that they beat them because FaZe looks like a team that has a lot of potential. They're also a team that I think can improve a lot throughout this season. But it just was so hit or miss for me watching them this weekend. But in that losers bracket finals, or losers bracket semifinals, matchup, they did beat Sentinels 3-1. Now, yes, it was with Formal, but that was the team that they had to go up against. So those were all their wins for the weekend. And of course, they lost to OpTic early on in winners bracket. And then their other loss was against eUnited in the losers finals. This was another close series. It went to game 5, but unfortunately, they weren't able to clutch up. They didn't have enough gas in the tank to make it to that finals. But they had a good event. They had a good showing. 3rd place is nothing to be ashamed about. And I know I have them at number 4 in my power rankings, but that's because I truly have OpTic as my number 3 team in Halo Infinite right now. And the reason being is this. Okay. For majority of the tournament, OpTic didn't even drop a map early on. And then in winners bracket round 2, they beat Sentinels 3-0. Sentinels is the team that got 4th place. And then in winners bracket round 3, they beat FaZe 3-1. FaZe was the first team to take a map off of them. And FaZe also finished 3rd at this event. But they beat both of these top 4 teams pretty handily. Now, I will say, I think FaZe, the series is a lot closer than a 3-1. But OpTic was still able to get the job done in 4. And then their only 2 losses in the tournament come in winners bracket round 4, the winners semis, which was against Cloud9, another 3-2 nail biter. This series was very back and forth. Cloud9 went up 2-0. OpTic brought it back, similar to how the first cup went, online. But Cloud9 was able to close it out this time in that Game 5 Slayer. And then they just kind of got double whammy. They lost in the winner semis. They went down playing against Sentinels in the loser bracket, and they lost 3-2 again. That was the Game 5 where Formal dropped 21 kills. And so, yes, they placed 5th, 6th. Okay? And they beat Sentinels, and they lost to Sentinels. The overall count, they won 5-3 against Sentinels. Now, obviously, that means absolutely nothing. Sentinels clearly got better as the tournament went on. But I just think, when you look at their wins, they were dominant. Okay, and their losses were 2-3-2s, 2 very close series. FaZe, OpTic could have easily won this event. Now, they didn't, but I think that their power ranking is better than what they placed at 5th, 6th. I currently have them as the number 3 team in the world. If you don't agree, you don't agree. We can agree to disagree, but that's my opinion. Moving on to the top 2, you guys obviously know the top 2. This isn't anything to hide. I can't put any other team besides these 2 teams here. The number 2 best team in the world right now is eUnited. And eUnited looked great all weekend. Now, I am going to kind of read through their road to the finals. And I will say this. Not hating on them, because you can only play the team that's in front of you. But they definitely had a lot easier of a run than a team like OpTic Gaming. So in winners bracket round 2, they played Team Mocket Gaming. They won 3-0. It was very easy. Mocket Gaming got top 24, I believe. And then in winners round 3, they also 3-0'd Space Station Gaming. And then winners round 4, they played Pioneers. This was like their first real test, in my opinion, in the winners bracket. But they also beat them 3-1, and Pioneers, like I said, did finish this event in 5th, 6th. But when you compare, they played Pioneers in winners bracket round 4 compared to OpTic Gaming, who played Cloud9, the winners. Obviously, Cloud9 is a lot tougher opponent than Pioneers. But what can you do? And the only 2 times they lost all event were to Cloud9, the champions of the tournament, where they lost 3-1 in the winners finals, and then they lost 4-1 in the finals. Okay? You can't place them any lower than 2nd. Oh, and excuse me. And they did beat FaZe 3-2, another very close series in the losers finals. And I'm not trying to nitpick. I'm doing my research of how I actually am valuing and ranking these teams. I think if OpTic are in their bracket, OpTic is for sure in the finals. Maybe they get 2nd. I'm not saying that OpTic would have beat Cloud9 by any means, but it definitely looked like OpTic played Cloud9 a lot tougher. I think OpTic had a lot harder of a road, but obviously it would be stupid and silly of me to place OpTic above a team like eUnited, who did make it to the finals. But eUnited did have a lot easier of a road. Okay, I just have to say that I have to. And then when you look at Cloud9, they're obviously the best team in the game right now. They've been super consistent, even online. They didn't lose at all this whole tournament. Some of the teams that they went up against War, winners bracket round 2, they won 3-0. They went up against Quadrant in winners bracket round 3, they won 3-1. They beat OpTic in the winners semis 3-2. They beat eUnited 3-1, 4-1 in the winners finals and the finals respectively. And it's well-deserved. It's well-deserved for Cloud9. I'm glad they took it. I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to win the whole thing. A lot of people had them as one of the best teams in the game. But I think everyone was looking towards that OpTic, looking towards that Sentinels. And Cloud9 was kind of in the shadows a little bit. So congrats to them. Congrats to Penguin for getting that first championship win under his belt. But that does it. Right now, this is my top 8 power rankings in Halo Infinite. Okay, this is my own opinion. I want to know what you guys think, though. Do you think I'm absolutely stupid out of my mind because some of these teams are ranked differently than what they placed at the first and only event so far this season? Or do you think it kind of makes sense the way that I am judging these teams' paths to wherever they placed, the strength of competition, yada, yada, yada? So let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. If you do want to see more Halo Infinite YouTube videos, please let me know as well. At the end of the day, though, you know I appreciate all the love. So thank you so much. And until next time, I'm going to see y'all when I see y'all. But the kid is out.